Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Mindful Sagittarians podcast. I'm Amber,
And I'm Sally.
and we talk about pretty much everything here. I'm really excited to be here.
Yay, welcome back. I am glad to have you back. Persenious was gracious enough to come on our podcast last week, but the
So grateful.
chaotic Sagittarian twins are back. So
Hello.
yeah, I'm ready for some dumpster fires or dropping some knowledge. How about you?
Totally. Let's get it. Let's get into it.
All right. So what are we talking about today, Amber?
I think we discussed that we're going to talk about um, like how we do our spiritual routines, like spiritual routines, maybe a little bit of deities, that sort of thing.
Cool. Yeah, I think we were going to talk about like some clair senses and like what we use primarily and whatnot. So do you want to go ahead and share and then we'll go back and forth?
Sure. Yeah. So for me, I mostly do divination and a lot of dream work. A lot of my premonitions have come in dreams. One time I'm adopted by my grandparents. So my grandpa and I, they were making a joke. And the Kentucky Derby was on. And literally 2 days before the Kentucky Derby happened, I said, number four is gonna win. And literally had a dream about it. And I woke up and I literally just was like, Grandpa, number four is gonna win. And it was the day before. And so the day of comes, and lo and behold, I'm watching it, and it was so surreal. It kind of felt like time was kind of doing a weird thing. And I was right. And my grandpa was so upset because he was like, damn it, I should have bet. Like,
I
should
was
have
like,
let
did
you
he
bet.
make some money?
No, no money. No money. But for me, before I knew I was spiritual, I was like, you know what? No, that's just proof. That was just proof that I have a gift and that I should trust it and trust myself. Like that was the biggest sign. And it's been one of many, like, I think I just have like I don't know. I've only had like one clear audience moment under high stress, but that could have been like a moment of like panic attack break where I heard my grandfather. I was riding a motorcycle, and I heard my grandfather say my name, and he had been dead for like 3 years at that point. So it was like that was weird. Um, but my friends swear that I will predict things, or like I'll know when they're in trouble, or without any social media, without anything. So I consider that my gift of just like premonition and just like knowing, like really gut intuition kind of stuff. What
Yeah,
about you?
it kind of sounds like a little bit like Nostradamus-y, like future sight kind of stuff. So look at you.
I mean, it hasn't won me the lottery yet, so we're still, you know,
We're still
we're still
humaning.
working on it. We're still working on it.
Yeah, it's all good. We're humaning and it's all good.
Uh,
Keep it in perspective
yeah.
because it sounds like you are the type to kind of try to debunk it and like make sure it's like a psychic thing. So that I
I
think
am
that's a good thing
always
to
a
do.
skeptic. I always test my stuff, and that's what I love about Theron and their ghost hunting with Rebecca and Emily. They had a recent episode, and I love how they actually check the equipment. And it's like that's what I'm doing all the time with myself. I'm constantly, is this a psychology thing? Am I having a panic attack, or am I really, did I just forget because my brain's doing a weird woo woo thing? Or, you know what I mean? Like, is it actually my blood sugar being low and I'm predicting that my food's coming when I ordered DoorDash an hour ago? Like, what are we doing?
Need
Like,
to get into the
oh,
hangry. Yeah, don't need to get
you
into
know,
the hangry psychic intuition. But no, I agree with you. Theron is definitely thorough. I've taken paranormal investigation classes with Theron.
no way.
Yeah, no, they're amazing. I'm actually currently in the advanced courses. But yeah, if you haven't checked them out, theronbeyondtheveil.com, they do courses on basically anything. So yeah,
Pretty amazing.
so yeah, they are pretty amazing at what they do and what they teach. In terms of me, I'm primarily inner eye clairvoyant and inner eye clairaudient. I do get a lot of cognition drops. So like I'll figure out things that I shouldn't know, or there's no way I could have figured it out without it being dropped. Just kind
Mhm.
of boop.
You
And
just know things.
right, and I think I'm a little bit like clairsentient, I think it's called. Also, I've had little bouts of like clairtangents. Like the two that I definitely do not have and do not work on is like clairgustance and what is it? Clairsalience, the smell and taste. Those are the two that
Yeah, I
like,
don't have, yeah, I don't have smell and I don't have hearing for sure. I don't think I hear people and I don't have like I don't see ghosts. I kind of like feel them.
hmm.
Um, or like I'll just get I also I think I'm like you where I just get downloads at times, but not always. Or I just feel things, like I just feel an energy.
Yeah, like with my cognizant drops, like I'll get stuff like in the future that's happening sometimes. Obviously the future is malleable, things can change, but
Yeah.
I was talking to somebody one day and I saw them 40 years in the future. It was wild. I've seen myself
Wow.
5 years in the future. Um, or I've seen like situations happen for people like when I'm just like talking. It's not even like I'm reading or like tuning into people. So if I get stuff like that, I'll be like, "Hey, I just got like a drop about something. Do you mind if I tell you about it?" Like, and sometimes people are just like most of the time they're like, "Yeah, that's fine," but it's usually with like woo-woo people that I'm talking to and it kind of happens, but I think naturally that just kind of happens. But
Well,
also like sorry, what?
I think we should, well, I think before we move on, I think we should say something to our audience about uh make sure you're looking for safe people when you're sharing your gifts with other people. Like it matters. You know, like not everyone wants to be read and not everyone, consents to being read, as well as like it may not be safe for you to give that energy to someone who doesn't deserve it or isn't good for you. There are unfortunately narcissists and people that are shitty and that are just there to make fun of you. And it's like we need to tell our listeners that, you know, there are acquaintances, there are close people, and then there's strangers. And you don't want to share that kind of a gift with a stranger. Not to say to hide your gifts, but it's always important to find safe people to share those more intimate things with. And that's just what I wanted to stop you on.
No, 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 you're fine. Like, don't be like, I don't want to say it by name, but there's a certain medium who's very famous on TV who just goes up to people and be like, Spirit told me to tell you this. And it's like, no, you should probably ask
Yeah.
for consent first because some people aren't ready to hear those types of messages. And, certain things just don't need to be communicated quite yet. Like, I also practice divination through tarot. And, sometimes while I'm doing a reading for someone, their guides will come in and just be like, they don't need to know that yet. Or like my guide will be like, probably shouldn't say that. So I have to differentiate sometimes. I haven't had that happen too often because I've already consented to the reading and I ask for consent throughout the reading sometimes when I have like some intense stuff come in, which you've experienced with me,
True.
and vice versa.
Mhm.
But yeah, absolutely, consent is key. Without consent, like you definitely shouldn't do anything. Like if you're getting downloads and stuff, just keep that to yourself, at that point.
And sometimes those downloads are only for you. It's just kind of like I've realized that as I've grown, because I used to be the reason why I say that is because I used to be that person that would just read people randomly and I would scare the crap out of them. And after a while, I'm like, this doesn't feel good. And obviously, it doesn't feel good for them either. So I think I should stop. Like, thankfully, I was with it enough. I was also in a very stressful situation. There was one time I was working at U-Haul and there was a guy who had his mother's stuff who just died, and I didn't know that his mother had just died, and
Hmm.
she had come to say hi, and his name was like Thomas, and I felt her or heard her say to me, "Oh, hi, Tommy," and I just repeated it, and it scared the crap out of him, and because I was like, "Oh yeah, that was your grandma, that was her," she just said hi Tommy, and he just looked at me, he's like my grandma used to say that to me, like that was my nickname, and I'm like, oh yeah, she knows. And he was just like looked at me like probably would have lost my job because I was working the storage unit. I was just cleaning. So yeah, that's why you don't do it because it freaks people out and they're not ready for it. And sure, maybe later he was like, huh, what a weird lady. Or maybe he thought I was just fucking crazy. And he was like, I'm never going into my storage unit when she's working, and it's just don't do that. Cause like if they don't if people don't believe, it's like getting junk mail. Nobody likes getting junk mail or fake checks or those stupid credit card
Hey, you
things.
won you won $2 million from Nigeria email.
Exactly. That's what a unsolicited reading or even just you sharing your gift to someone who's like very anti psychic and they think, they believe in certain religions that believe that that's wrong and that's okay. Like we're not judging those religions and we're not judging people for having their beliefs, but we're just asking people to be aware that not everyone's going to love your awesome gift and that is okay, but just to keep yourself safe and to make sure that your voice is being heard by people who do believe and who do like what you're doing and want you to do what you're doing.
Yeah, don't be that psychic knocking on people's doors saying, "Have you heard about da 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 our
Have you
Lord and
heard about
Savior?"
have you heard about our god and goddess? Oh, that would be fun. I would let those people in, but that's me.
But that's just us. Yeah, no, totally. Finding
Oh
your
yeah, tell me more.
Yeah, exactly. Like, how do I join?
Yeah.
But literally just finding a safe space to communicate these things definitely very important because like you said, there's energy vampires out there. There are people who don't even believe in your gifts, but they just like play along just to see what you say to make you feel like you're crazy. And
And
like,
they use you
yeah.
too. They'll try to use you because even though they don't believe it, they kind of like I've met and I've experienced some energy vampires that don't believe, but they are powerful and they know that they're powerful.
Hmm.
And they don't know why. They think it's, whatever religion they're believing in, or they think that they're being atheist or whatever. But people will manipulate other people based on beliefs. Like it's really sad. Almost as sad as the gatekeeping that happens on the flip side, people keeping other people out.
Hmm.
Um, one of my best friends who's a tarot card reader had this happen to them. Um, they worked at a shop that I also had worked at, and I left early because they weren't really good people for me. For them, they had to stay there because of the money,
Hmm.
and they allowed them to read tarot in their shop, which like had really cool stuff in it. It was very like they had a lot of they did a lot of jobs, and this was their little bit. They made candles and stuff, but this was their spot where it's like they got commission and everything. So a new tarot card reader joined the group, and my friend and I, we both have the belief of just like there is plenty of room for every type of tarot card reader, emoji reader, pendulum swinger. It doesn't matter. Like there's
Pendulum
enough.
swinger.
There's
Is
enough.
there
There's
upside down
enough.
pineapple with like a third eye? Like,
Yeah, yeah. If you roll dice, if you throw the runes, whatever it is, there is plenty of space in, you know, for everyone to be able to make their money, get their messages out there and validate each other. There's just plenty of money, especially in a commission standpoint. So like with my friend, this new younger tarot card reader was claiming that they knew all this stuff and they were trying to tell my friend that oh she should read this book and all this stuff, and it really pissed my friend off, and she is not the kind that gets mad. She was like, why am I so upset? And I'm like, because and I had to tell her because she thinks everyone's really nice, and she believes the best in people sometimes even when she shouldn't, and I love her for that, uh because oh God, I wish the world was the way she saw it, to be honest. Um, but yeah, and it was just this insecurity from this other girl to my friend. And when and my friend, she's like, I don't shit talk. But when she read me, she didn't get anything at all. She was terrible. And my friend, and it was the opposite for her because my friend was always spot on. My friend, Ginny, she said I can use her name, but that's all I'm going to say. So my friend Ginny, she's like, yeah, I never get mad. And the point of the story is that like there was some kind of gatekeeping going on. There's some insecurity going on and some slight bullying and like belittling. And it's just like my friend Ginny is like the best, most amazing person you will ever meet. And they're so kind and they are so with it. Like they know what they're doing. And this young tarot card reader was trying to come in because she felt insecure up against her. And I'm like, hashtag same. I felt insecure up against my friend Ginny, but I listened to her when she said, hey, like, there's room for everybody. And she meant it. But unfortunately, this young tarot card reader was not that great of a person and young and didn't realize that she was hurting my friend and hurting herself because of that separation. It was causing drama that didn't need to be there. And it's just, we don't need to gatekeep, guys. We don't need to gatekeep, audience.
No, and I don't think people understand when you get into that space of the bullying and thinking you're better than others. And,
Mm-hmm.
it's more like we all have different gifts or we interpret things differently. Like tarot card readers don't read the same. Like the two of us don't read the same. Definitely not.
Not at all.
But also
Yeah.
like you can send like unintentional psychic attacks against people when you like start verbalizing the thoughts that you have about someone because they don't do the same thing as you, or you don't necessarily agree with like the way that they're practicing their abilities, which,
Mm-hmm.
I'm not sure about you, but I've experienced this before and it took me a while to realize
Yeah.
like, what it was. But I don't really talk about my spiritual journey so much anymore, in detail because the gatekeeping, oh,
Yeah.
you've only been doing this for this long kind of deal. And I'm kind of like, why does it matter? My journey's gonna not look the same as somebody else's. And your journey's not gonna look
Facts.
the same as your best friend's. It's
Mm-hmm.
everyone learns at a different pace. Everyone has gone through different trauma or different learning experiences or have experienced life a couple of times before and maybe is very old, like an old soul, right? So,
True.
definitely PSA, like, let's not gatekeep anything in the spiritual community. Everyone learns at different rates. And,
Mm-hmm.
it's like a 12-year-old in college versus somebody who's going through school at a normal level. Like people aren't necessarily smarter than you. People process things different than you, right? I think,
100%.
yeah. So I'm glad you brought that up because I feel like as a community, we already get enough from the outside, from I don't want to say normies, but like people who don't tune into their psychic gifts.
Just other people, just other
Yeah,
places.
yeah, but it's just like we get enough like hate and enough skepticism and
Yeah.
get made fun of and all these things like we're crazy because we're not Christian or any other religion, whatever. So let's like try to be kind to each other because like I said, we're all different and unique, and that's a beautiful thing because we all bring different things to the table and we could learn a lot from each other.
Yeah, and what's the issue with it is this intolerance and this it comes from a lack mindset, as they say, where it's like there's the reason why most people gatekeep is because they feel like, oh no, someone's shining brighter than me. That means I'm not going to get my attention that I deserve. It's an entitlement to the ability and they're wanting to feel more special than you. And that's not fair. Like it happened when I first became a tarot reader way back in the day when I was like 20 something, like 21. And I got my first tarot card deck. And this one psychic who I was really like, I believed in, they kept telling me that I had to be gifted my first deck in order to be a true tarot reader. Like, and it's just so dumb. And it's so high school. When you look at it with, you know, big girl eyes or adult eyes or big person pants, it's like, hey, what? It's like, grow up. It's like we're not in third grade anymore where it's like, well, you like Pink Ranger and I like the Pink Ranger from Power Rangers. you know that means we can't both be Pink Rangers. Like, yes, you can both be Pink Ranger. You're going to be you Pink Ranger and I'm going to be me Pink Ranger. Just deal with it. You know what I mean? It's not third grade. It
Yeah.
and it just, when you see it as an immature thing but with consequences because you're an adult, when you do that to someone, you're possibly ruining their business, their reputation, your you're gathering up bad karma. Like if you believe in this stuff, you're not like the intention is always known, whether you know it or not. That's the other way someone can give you the evil eye. It's like sometimes when you give compliments and you give them not truly, or even if you do, you're trying to be nice, that still can give someone the evil eye. Sometimes it's just best to like quietly clap, and that's all you got to do.
Yeah, if you don't have anything nice to say, don't say it at all or don't think it at all, because I think it's what's dangerous is the groupthink process where let's say,
True.
you don't like someone or you don't necessarily agree with someone, then all of the friends that you have in your circle all of a sudden just automatically don't like this person just because you don't like them. And it has no like depth or reason or it doesn't make sense. And then all of a sudden, this person has an evil eye on them, or all of a sudden, this person is feeling, unintentional psychic attacks, or
Yeah.
they start doubting their gifts and they leave the spiritual community because I myself have experienced, a time or two where I started really doubting myself. Like, can I really do this? Like, this
Yeah.
person is so much better than me, or these people are so much better than me. Instead of where I usually think is like, oh, like my abilities are different. Like you can say I'm inner eye clairvoyant, but somebody else could see a totally different image than what I'm seeing because, depending on what you're
True.
referencing or what you grew up with, like you might see one deity differently than another. You might see your guide differently than whoever is reading you. Um,
So real. Yeah.
yeah, so I think just acceptance and inclusion is what we strive for as
Hmm.
a spiritual community, but I feel like a lot of people talk the talk but don't walk the walk. It's the human thing to
Absolutely.
do. But I
Well,
think
we also have bad days, but it's about making amends. Like you can have a bad day, you can have a misconception of someone, and that's okay. Like, you know, not everyone is going, like, you don't have to be friends with everyone, but it's not your place to ventilate that out unless if it's something actually serious. Like if someone's hurting you, freaking talk shit. Like, please, like if someone, like, I'm sorry, talk shit. Like if someone's hurting you and they're abusing you and they're causing actual trouble, forget what we just said. Talk shit. Reverse evil eye that crap. But if it's
back to
something
sender,
petty,
back to
and
sender.
yeah, back to sender that shit, or actually get real people involved. Because if it's serious, like SA, unwanted physical contact, unwanted like solicited psychic stuff and manipulation, we don't want none of that here. Okay, period. But if it's petty, if it's minute, if it's jealousy, if it's something that, you could just go to a therapist for, do that. Don't try to
Therapy.
like drag.
What an idea. What a
Yeah, go to
concept.
therapy. Talk to someone who can help you about it. Or go directly to the source. If you feel hurt or harmed, I know it's a lot to ask. Go to the person that hurt you. If you're safe, if it is safe to do so, don't go up to the last narcissist you dated or some shit, because I've tried that. It doesn't work. Um, but like if you feel that there is reconciliation to be had, or if you realize that you haven't communicated your issue with someone, try it. Worst case scenario, you find out that they're still an asshole.
I
As long as it's safe, I want to hammer home, be safe first. If you trust your gut and you feel like they are a bad person, don't go there. But if you feel like, maybe you misjudged them and you feel safe and you hear good things about them from reputable people, maybe you might want to just have a chat. You know, like it's uncomfy, but try to have a chat. If it's manageable. I don't know.
No, for sure. I think just like I said, the group thing, it's like, oh, well, this person doesn't like this person, so I'm not gonna talk to them. It's like, let's grow the fuck up. Like, we're all
Yeah,
adults.
like are we in high school? Are we in middle school? Actually, sorry, middle school? I don't want to give them high
Honestly,
school.
though,
That's too elevated.
honestly though, it's hard enough like being a human, making friends as an adult. Like, you're not in this controlled environment
Yeah.
like school or like college, like high school, college, university, or like at a
This is the
job
real
where
world.
yeah, it's a big world out there. There's a lot of strangers, and like it's so hard to make friends as an adult as it is. So like when you meet spiritual friends, it's so exciting because like you have the same interests, you want to talk about the same things, you're curious about the same things. So it's just like give people a chance. Like just because you heard something about someone or like you have like a one-off situation where you might have like misinterpreted the situation, like just let's all just coexist. Like we don't have to all like each other, but we can coexist just fine and be
Yeah.
grown-ass adults.
I've met people that I just fucking hate and I don't know why. And they've never done a thing to me. No, for real. I'm going to be so real because I want to validate the listeners that potentially are just like, but you know that one I call okay, sorry to any of the Bethanies. That's what I call my inner critic. So I'm just using so any Bethany that I haven't met personally, I'm very sorry. I don't have any friends Bethany, but if you're a Bethany listening, I'm very, very sorry. This isn't at you. So for me, I'll be like, this one chick, Bethany, fuck that bitch. I hate the way her hair just sits on her face. You know what I mean? And there's some of those people that just, they don't look like my parents or anything. And I just hate them. And I just hate, like, I hate the way they chew or breathe. And, and that is okay. I want to validate that that is okay for you to just hate someone for the sake of it because, you know, sometimes it's unexplained and sometimes you just don't like someone and that's okay. Just don't give them the evil eye because they haven't done shit to you.
Right. And maybe you need to do some work and figure out that maybe you had a past life with that person and that person fucked you over and that's why you feel that way because it's like that
Or
sometimes.
maybe or maybe you're just a bad person.
Maybe you're just a bad person. Look
Sorry.
deep within yourself.
Maybe you're petty. You know what I mean? Like maybe it's a you thing, you know? It's like it's like when you're a kid, when you're a kid watching a cartoon and you're like, "Oh, I hate that character." And you have no basis of it at all. Sometimes you just hate people. Like you hate a random cartoon character and you don't have a legitimate reason why. You're just like, their shoes are green and I hate that their shoes are green.
Listen, sometimes you gotta be petty. Like, let me tell you. So my spirit team is very, very sassy. Like everyone on my spirit team are pretty much sassy. So sometimes I'll get sassy back and I'll just be like, da 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 da, da, and they'll look at me and they'll be like, why are you being so petty right now? And I'm just like, because you came at me, bro. And then it's just like,
Yeah.
settle down. And it's like, I get like a pat on the head, or just like, I'll come back later because you're not in the space right now. And I'm just like, you started it and I finish it and then you get upset. It's like, even with your own spirit team, things like that can happen. Like, I've had my deity straight up
uh,
like, yeah, you need to calm down. That's not what I was trying to tell you. Like, this is what I'm telling you. And I'm like, oh, like,
do you have do you have family in your spirit team?
actually, I don't, and this is funny because I actually had a consult with Theron, and it was like a check-in later, like past loved ones reading, and my sister is who I wanted to reach out to. So I think Theron straight up asked my sister, like, "Don't you want to be your sister's spirit guide?" And she was like, and I was like, "Yeah, no, she's right because I don't listen to like people in my family, so I definitely wouldn't." And it's my younger sister. So she like hangs out, but she's definitely not like my spirit guide because I would probably just look at her and be like, okay.
I fired my grandfather as a spirit guide. Like,
No.
yes, I had him as a spirit guide for a while. And it was legitimate because I worked in the government. So he was very helpful. He like came in one day and I really needed him and he got me through a really bad spot. But afterwards, he kept on trying to push me back into government gigs. And I'm like, fuck you, bro. Like, fuck you. I'm done. We're done. Until I call on you, we're done. Just like in life, he kept on like he in real life, in life when he was alive, he wouldn't call me when he wanted to see me. He expected me to do all the work. And then when he got into spirit world and he finally transitioned and everything, which I helped him do, and I didn't know it, but I did, he wouldn't shut the and like he wouldn't stop bothering me. He'd just be like, you should do this, you should do that. And he was loving it because he felt like he was back working where he used to work. He used to work in the Pentagon long, long time ago. He's dead now. And he was like, "Oh, this is great. This is just like this is even better. I've never been in this building for." He was so fucking psyched. And then I was like, "All right, you're fired," because he kept on forgetting that I'm a woman and I'm a queer woman, and he was putting me toe to toe with these men. And
Mhm.
although I did succeed to a point, he was getting frustrated and his frustration wasn't helping me. And I'm like, yo, pay attention real quick. Let's have a meeting. Just like,
Right.
you're not listening. And I don't want to do this anymore. I tried it. I didn't realize that I was listening to you most of this time. And it was aligned. And now it's not because we've gone as far as we can.
It's
And
it's like Harry Potter
it had
pumping
to be
pals.
like,
Father, 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 father.
yeah, it was bad. And now my spirit team's different. And thankfully, Matt, the sigil guy, he also reads amazing tarot as well. He was at Sacred Spaces. He noticed my guides for the first time. He's like, "Oh, I haven't met your guides." He's like, "Oh, you have five of them." And he's like, "They're very formal." And I'm like, "Fuck yeah, they are." And it's so interesting because you brought that up about how they appear differently to other people. I haven't fully connected with all of my guides, and I think only two of them came up to Matt that day in the live, and it was pretty cool what he described them as. And Rebecca, the ghost guide, has described one of my guides. We call her Matilda. Uh,
Oh,
yeah, she's pretty intense. Um, and it's just like I love my spirit team now.
that's awesome.
My grandpa, he just couldn't cut it. He thought he could, he just couldn't. It's
No,
okay.
just no.
No, sorry, dude. He's still around, but he's not my guide anymore. Um, he's just my grandpa again. He's just my grandpa ghost. He comes when he needs to. He looks out for me. I hear him from time to time, but it's like a lot less.
Yeah.
It's yeah.
What's interesting is that like I recently discovered that I can actually see other people's guides as well.
Mm,
Doing my psychic mediumship work. Just, nothing formal, just like me doing the psychic mediumship stuff. Outside of a professional sense, like booking a reading or something. But like, however the other person perceives their guides is how I see them. And
cool.
actually one of the mods on my Discord, Razzle, will tell you
Yeah.
I was practicing for speed reads for Sacred Spaces because I helped her move to Wilmington. And she was helping me practice my speed reads because I was like, I don't know what the hell this is about. Like, I gotta figure it out, right? And all of a sudden, her guides are just standing behind her. And I was like, Razzle, can I tell you about something? Like, your guides are here, and I just want to, like, maybe validate or, like, if you want me to tell you. And she's like, yeah, yeah. So literally describe to a T what they look like, how they're appearing to me, like what color they
Nice.
are. Like, there was like one of her spirit guides, she'll talk about it, but like she calls them potato. And I was able to describe what potato
I
looked
got,
like.
they gave me one of their potato
I
keychains.
drove that home. I love you, Russell. I really do. I drove her from Wilmington to Richmond and I didn't get a damn potato, but it's okay. I'll get it. I'll get it in
No.
Richmond. So, but
You better, I will give you my potato.
no, you're good. You're good. Persenious got me a potato. We're good. Um,
Okay, cool, cool.
but no, it was just really interesting to me, and that's not the first time I've been able to do that. Like, and so it
Wow.
was kind of cool because also I'm clairamotive. I forgot to mention that earlier, and like I can
Mm,
literally sit here and like read how people are feeling, what their general vibe is, and also like what they could possibly be worrying about at that moment or what they're thinking about, like not like in very detail, but like as an empath, somebody who's been empathic before, like I
yeah.
started delving into psychic abilities, like I think it was funny because the clairmotive stuff came later once I kind of got better at everything else.
And
Um,
what is that exactly? Clairimotive.
Emotions. So
Got
kind of, I
it.
can
Okay.
feel other people's emotions. I can feel sometimes when people are about to have a panic attack. I can
Mm,
feel like if I happen to pick up something during like a tarot reading, like a chaos tarot reading, which is what I kind of am known for at this point.
let's
Where
give it, let's do a plug real quick. Let's do a plug real quick. What is the difference between a chaos reading from you and a regular reading?
so a regular tarot
Plug,
reading,
shameful plug.
A shameless plug. I appreciate it. So my handle is the Sagittarius Savage Tarot.
Let's
Um,
go.
TikTok, Instagram, yeah, those places. I also have a Discord server called the Savage Den. So if you want an invite, let me
It's
know. It
awesome.
is not behind the
Hmm.
paywall. It is just free for anybody who wants to join in and talk about spiritual shit. Um, but like a regular tarot reading is literally what it is. Like I tune in with my guides. They're still intuitive reads, but they're very like I don't want to say surface level, but they delve into things, but not quite like deep. So
Mm,
it's whatever that person consents me to kind of read for them, right? A chaos tarot reading, I connect a little bit differently. I
mm,
connect a little bit more to my higher self, and the guide that is connected to my higher self, and kind of like goes further out into the universe, as to what you need to know. It's not just, hey, general reading, or hey, I want to know about this. It's no, this is what you need to know. And that's why I have a disclaimer on my booking saying if you are emotionally sensitive and you don't want to hear things that like may potentially be like a sensitive subject for you, don't book the chaos reading. Like I straight up say
yeah.
that because like people who have had chaos readings with me, I haven't had anyone really complain about it, right? Like we talk through it, but it gets emotional. I've cried during a chaos tarot reading, giving a reading
Hmm.
to someone because clairimotively, like I connect to that. And
Yeah.
there are some themes that come up sometimes that, are things that traumatize people or things that they're
Hmm.
struggling with. And, for that reason, I kind of put the disclaimer out there now because I don't want to be seen as this person who like just makes people cry because I mean, a lot of people cry in chaos tarot readings, but it's a good like release type of cry because they're like acknowledging something they didn't want to acknowledge before, or they're being told something that validates how they've been feeling. So yeah, and then I just added clairvotive readings, empathic readings, to my repertoire. I really don't want to get into the psychic mediumship stuff quite yet. Like, I feel like that's something that I need to work on a little bit more and kind of do it as like I get together with woo-woo people and have, fun doing cold reads at places and, go paranormal investigating and do things. But yeah, that's kind of
Yeah.
what I do. And you are a tarot
How
reader as well, so.
I am. I'm not plugging though because I'm not doing that as a profession right now. But back to you though, real quick. Thank you for the plug. You can follow me on social media for all my crazy adventures at Amber J. Breland, on all the social platforms, Instagram, Facebook, and TikTok. And yeah, so back to you. My follow-up question for you is what we know they're intense, the readings. I know them personally, but what has been the feedback from your people? Because that's what the listeners should know about is that yeah, it may be intense, but that could be your vibe. You know what I mean? Like we said earlier, like reading is a very individual thing. It is personal. Some people see it as just entertainment, as a fun party trick. Other people are looking for that more intense thing. So, what have your clients said and given you positive feedback about?
Um, the funny thing is, I have somebody here who's had a chaos tarot reading for me before.
Oh, really?
Do you want to give your feedback?
Turn.
You want to give your feedback?
Sure.
So, welcome Persenious back, everyone.
Applause. All the podcasters are applauding.
Yes. So,
We love
what would you
Persenious.
say? What would you say about a chaos tarot reading for me?
It's very insightful and it hits all the points, even though you may not want to be thinking about that at the moment, but it's what you need to hear. Um, like it
And
will
why
clock you. You'll get clocked. You'll feel called out.
and
But it's
why
for the
and
good
why
thing.
is that and why is that how you like to be read? Why has that worked for you, do you think?
Because I'm hard-headed and I don't like to listen. So,
Okay.
yeah, she knows.
Heard.
That and like
Gotcha.
Persenius has a very unique experience because she was hanging around me while I was doing a lot of my chaos readings. And she was there when I started crying with somebody else. She was there when other people started to cry. So, when I'm not gonna say I feel bad when people start crying like during a reading, like I feel for them
I
because
think
they're
it's okay.
dealing with something. But sometimes
Yeah.
crying is good. Like I cried during my reading with you at Williamsburg.
Yeah.
But Persenious gave me some feedback about that, about, they know what they signed up for when they asked you for a read. And most of these reads were free, actually. Actually, all of them were free, except for
Yeah,
the
especially
speed
at Sacred
readings.
Spaces.
Yeah, the
Yeah.
ones at the speed read weren't even chaos readings. They were just like, I mean, yes, they were chaos readings, but they were surface level chaos readings because the time went by so quick. There's only so much I can like really delve into, and I really didn't want to make anybody like get super emotional, to be honest. Um, but it's exactly as she said, like it's what you need to hear. It's,
Mhm.
based on what my guides are saying, and sometimes their guides come in. I've had that happen before, or they'll straight up tell me, like, no, don't say that. So I
Mhm.
respect the boundaries, but it's like, it's a more intense tarot reading if people really want to, like, just have, like, this is the
Gotcha.
description. It's a more intense, emotional kind of reading versus just like a regular tarot reading, like, hey, you're going to come into some money, or hey, you're dealing with this situation right now. It's kind of
Mm.
more into what are you potentially going to be dealing with,
Yeah.
what is what are you struggling with because it traumatized you, kind of deal, because I'm
Right.
pulling from a different source.
Hmm. Back to Persenius. Um, why has other tarot card readings not worked for you?
Oh, I shield very hard with most people.
She tried that with me the first time, and I can attest to that. She's
Yeah.
very hard to read. And
Yeah, like I only allow most of the time I only allow surface level reading because I am like I don't like I've had some trauma in my past when it comes to the spiritual community. And I like literally
Mm.
just have come back in with Sacred Spaces and with like Theron's group and all of that kind of stuff. So I'm just starting to trust people again. So I still like I'm like,
Yeah.
hey, you can read up to like this point, but then if it goes into any like in-depth stuff, I'm like wall most of the time. And
Yeah.
so like the first like I we were at Sacred Spaces and I was like, okay, you can actually read me now. Like I'm going to drop all my shields and you can actually give me a read. And then she gave me a very accurate
Hi.
read, and I was like, yep, that's true.
I said, bitch, you got problems. I'm just
Yeah.
kidding.
I I love that for you. I'm so glad that you found a safe reader that can read the way that you feel that you need to, because that's important. And also, it's okay if you ever go back to the softer reads. And I know you know that, but I'm just wanting to say that for the listeners is that like it's a choice. It's always a choice. Um, I would love to ask you some more questions, and then I want to go back to Sally. So Presenia, and I'll share a story if you guys want to. Um, what turned you off from the spiritual community? Like, what is there a story you can share to the listeners about your experience with toxic spirituality and what that felt like to you?
Um,
Um,
yeah. Basically, I was friends with a narcissist. So,
mm,
like they told me they're like, oh yeah, I'm a what was it, sociopath or something like that, and I was like, okay, and I was like,
hmm
I was young, I was in my 20s, like they were my friend, I was like, okay, cool, like I thought that that was an actual friendship, but it wasn't, and
mm,
so we were like, I thought we were besties. We lived together at one point. I just got used the entire time.
so
So
sorry.
yeah, and then like afterwards, all the like manipulation, like with the whole psychic stuff, and like then like it just followed me for a while, and I'm actually shedding a lot of that like now that I'm coming into a safer space, really, that like someone has provided for me right here. So
Yay, we
like
love that.
yeah.
Yes,
So
I'm
she's
happy.
like, Sally's been really helpful to me in like a lot of aspects. And yeah, I wouldn't be where I am as confident as I am or in like as willing as I am to accept new people in if it wasn't for Sally.
Oh my God, you're gonna make me cry.
I love that.
I was just recalling.
Oh, yes, this is a great episode.
Yeah, no, surprise guest. Literally, like, didn't even know Persenius was going to be a part of this episode. But no, I was just recalling at Sacred Spaces, day
Mm,
one, I dressed up as my guide, like one of my guides. You remember that?
Yeah.
I
So
do.
really not this bitch and me, like we were sitting at lunch. I just use improper grammar. Oh my God, Sally. Um, Sat there, was eating pho. Tell me why. I
Yeah.
have like a chopstick full of noodles, and I grab Persenious's hand, and my guide comes in because transmediumship, yes, just like that.
Yes.
And transmediumship is a thing that I
For
figured.
those of you at home, I have chopsticks because I just had pho.
Oh my God, it's like you're psychic or something. But no,
Oh no.
legitimately, like I learned the art of transmediumship while I was at Sacred Spaces. And my guide came through and literally looked at her and was just like, you realize you're like a part of something bigger, right? And like literally gave her a talking to. I snapped out of it and I went right back to eating my noodles.
And I was just like, and then so this conversation lasted for like what, 10 minutes?
It was like off and on, off
Yeah,
and
off and
on.
on
I
for
would
like
like
10
I would
minutes.
get like a mouthful of noodles and then I would like contemplate my life for a second and then I would snap into it and I was just like,
Nice.
but yeah, no,
Uh,
percentage in just the short amount of time that I've known them, like seriously, spiritually has like recovered, like bounced back from the trauma that I don't even know everything about, to be honest. But from what we've talked about, like literally like 0 to 100. So I'm super proud of her and the work she's doing. Like she's putting in the work, and that's why she's getting the results she's
yeah.
getting. And that's what I want to say to people as a PSA.
Hmm.
Like, if you're not putting in the work, don't expect to get anything back. Like, don't go to a reader and expect a reader to tell you every single detail about your guide. Don't expect them to like tell you about what you need to do spiritually like all the time because that's for you to figure out. Just as like you figuring out communication with your spirit guides. Like I had to figure it out and I
True.
better off for it.
Also, just for the listeners, two things. Jumping real quick back to narcissism. We may mention narcissism. We are not psychologists. We are speaking from entirely in spirit experience. So if you are a diagnosed narcissist, I'm very sorry. We're not trying to call you out personally. And if you know that you are one, I'm super proud of you because doing that work is hard. So thank you for anyone who is a narcissist listening to us. Appreciate you, appreciate the work that you do to try to be better, and understand the rest of us. But back to what Persenious was saying about like actually back to Sally, both of you, doing the work and what that looks like. So the work is sometimes doing the scary thing, like what you did, Persenius, and letting someone in and taking that chance, even though every part of your being is saying, fuck no, not again. Like, we're not going to be open because being open means I get hurt. And so that is very powerful, truly, what you had to do in order to let Sally in, to go to sacred spaces, to continue to pursue what you do in your own healing journey. And tell me if I'm wrong, Sally. When you mean do the work, sometimes that work means go for a fucking walk.
Yes, go touch some fucking grass or some concrete or,
Go
an
have a
elliptical. I don't
latte with
know.
your friends.
Yeah, no, or talk to your friends. Like, even if they're not spiritual, talk to
Yeah.
people. Like,
It
doing
doesn't
work.
mean like,
Yeah.
yeah. It doesn't mean like whip yourself. It doesn't mean like you're in trouble for not connecting with your spirit. It's always a choice. The work is a choice.
Yeah, and but like doing the work also means self-care and like mental health work because so many
Yes.
people I feel like go into the spiritual psychosis thing that everyone like has been talking about this past year,
Mhm.
where everything is just spiritual. It's not. Like we're human, we're corporeal, like we are on this earth right now at this time to like learn different lessons and
Yeah.
finish things that we didn't finish before, learn new things. And not everything is spiritual. So it's kind of like, with like you mentioned Theron earlier with the paranormal investigation debunking. Like,
Yeah.
is it human? That's what you want to say first. Is it human? And then, okay,
Yeah.
you debunk it. Okay, is it a psychic thing? Okay, am I just feeling this sort of way because I've
Or
encountered a
did I fart?
situation like this
Did I
before? Yeah,
fart? Yeah.
yeah.
Am I
So,
hungry? Did I set off that sensor by accident? Just it could be something silly.
right, for sure. And no, I think especially for people who aren't very self-aware, it's hard for them to like understand the difference between like everything happening is psychic versus like,
Yeah.
hey, like the sign that you thought was a sign from your deity was really just like you accidentally hitting a mailbox. Like, I don't know.
That may mean you need to go to bed early. I don't know, have a coffee before you get in your car, maybe
Right.
check your glasses prescription. That could have nothing to do with the spiritual at that point.
Yeah, but it's like if you're quick to jump to be like, oh, well, that's this person's fault, or like, or
Yeah.
this it's this deity's fault, or oh, my guy, da 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 da, or like, oh, somebody must be putting a psychic attack. It's not that. It's just like debunk it verse. Is it human? Like, yeah, my
Mhm.
foot slipped off the gas pedal and like and I hit the mailbox.
Yeah.
Not that I did. Well, I might have done this when I was in my 20s, but not anytime recently. It was my own mailbox. That's probably why I just reach
Only one mailbox that you owned got hurt in the process. Got it.
yes. No other mailbox were hurt during filming.
Thanks. Uh, it's it's just for me. So I relate to you, Persenious, so much because when I was living in New York, going back to like toxic psychics and stuff like that, I came across this psychic in New York, and she basically convinced me over a long period of time to give her $30,000. I was swindled, and it's no different than it. Like I want to make this clear to the people that it happens at churches. This happens in Christian churches where they trick people into believing that their money's going to a good cause, helping people in other countries, building a church, and they go bankrupt and lose their house. I have a friend who actually, his parents, that happened to him. And there's me where I lost $30,000 because she said the spirits told me to and all this stuff. And I believed it because I was in a very dark place. I was grieving my grandfather's death, the one I was talking about earlier. And she just got me at the right time. And I don't want to shame people for making those mistakes because I've done a lot of work on forgiving myself because I shamed the shit out of myself for years. And it was very much a financial wound. But to people that have those things happen to them, they're not good people. I have since gone back to New York, and that psychic isn't on her cushy little spot near 32nd Avenue in Manhattan anymore. And it felt karmic. It felt good to know that she wasn't there anymore. Um, and but that money and that trauma of not believing kind of sent me back to Christianity, which also wasn't probably a good choice.
Mhm.
But it's those things that make a community bad. It's those people that take advantage of people at their most vulnerable, at at their intimate moments. And we don't want to be a part of that community. And to anyone that think it's okay to scam people and pretend that, and for those of you listening, it's like, hey, make sure that you consented to everything. Make sure you've read the fine print. And as soon as it starts to deviate, get the hell out of there. The worst thing that could happen if you just step out of a reading or turn off your phone is, oh no, you lost whatever money you paid to get in there. I'm not going to pretend that all spiritual people are good. I know none of us here believe that. People are still people. Um, but at the end of the day, you know, it's okay that someone tricked you. You went in there being a trusting whole person and they took advantage of that. And that's not your fault. And that wasn't my fault for losing that money. She had convinced me that the money my grandpa left me after he died was cursed. She allowed me to do that. And I did all the work myself. But she helped make those cogs stick to the point where then she allowed me to be vulnerable. And she found her moment to get me. And, you know, I'm glad I can use it as a lesson for other people to realize that, hey, not all of us are good, you know, and it's okay. Like, it's okay to have made those kinds of mistakes because at the end of the day, it's not your fault, but it is your responsibility to be aware, to do the work, like you said, Sally. And the work may be don't get a rating for a while. Make sure that it's for you. Make sure that you're financially stable. Make sure you've gone to therapy, had a water, or two. And I gave a reading at Sacred Spaces to this person because they were very fixated on like, oh, I think it's this, this, this. They were so focused on one aspect of their life not going right. And I'm like, sure, that hasn't dropped in yet, but is everything else right? Like, have you been going to sleep? Have you been taking care of this? Have you been taking care of that? I'm not a doctor, but this sounds like some of these things that you're experiencing are results of this stuff. Um, and they were like, oh, okay. And they realized that, while they're waiting for things to drop, and we all have time periods where we're having to wait for stuff. Um, Most recently, the election was one of those moments. And that's all I'm going to say about that. But it's just that feeling. Well, while you're waiting, what are you doing? While you're waiting for maybe that spirit guide or that deity to show up, or those tarot cards to appear from some witch, what are you doing? Are you doing research? Are you, protecting yourself, learning how to protect yourself? Because I think that's something we should talk about next.
Yeah, just to add to that real quick, doing the work also means like going on Google or reading books about a deity that you feel like is calling to you. It's also like looking into spirituality, just even like reading up here and there. It's watching TikTok videos. It could
Yeah.
come in all sorts of forms. However, the work feels right to you. But the thing is, don't expect answers from the universe or answers from other readers. Which by the way, I also want to mention, like, not all readers are, like what Amber experienced, most readers aren't. But, because I've heard this a couple of times about like pricing and things, like if you're paying for a service that you desperately need or you want and you want some clarity,
Mhm.
like a lot of these readers do this full time. And so
Yeah.
when they do this full time and they've spent the time to like hone their craft and do what they do best, you don't go to a plastic surgeon who specializes in rhinoplasties and go, oh, you're charging too much. And then you go
Mhm.
somewhere else and then get a hack job. And then it's like, oh, you should have just paid the person the rate. That's the easiest way I can describe it. I don't know why that came out of nowhere, but really, like, readers
No, it's
have a
real.
hard time knowing what they're worth sometimes. And so don't complain about people's prices. Like if that person doesn't feel right to you, go to a different reader. But like don't
Yeah,
bash
if you
people
don't
for
like the
their price.
price, why are you there?
Exactly. Like
Why are you
you
there?
gotta pay to play. No money, no honey. Like they are
Nobody owes you the time of day.
that,
You know
and
what I mean?
it's an energetic exchange. These people like are
Yeah.
giving up their energy, and if you are in the woo-woo community, you understand how much energy goes into giving people readings, especially if they're psychic mediumship type of readings. There's a
Mhm.
lot of energy and concentration and focus that goes into those. So that was just
Mhm.
my little PSA. But go ahead,
I
Amber.
mean, and regardless, it's still time out of someone's day.
Mhm.
Even if it's a shit reading and they're fake and they're making you laugh, you know what I mean? Like let's let's give it for the fake tarot readers out there, like go you. If you're funny, fuck it. You deserve that money. It's still time at the end of the day. And I think, regardless of, any argument where people like, oh, well, I feel swindled because it was a fake reading. And it's like, meh, well, prove it, bitch, because you still wasted an hour of my time. You still took an hour and a half of my day. I should get compensated for that. You know, like regardless of the belief in the spiritual, I'm taking it to the skeptical, you know. You still spent an hour with Sally, the amazing, or Persenious, or fucking me. You know what I mean? Like you still spent an hour in my presence, and that's not free unless if you're my best friend, and even then there's a reciprocation happening. It's not, you know what I mean? Like we're not
Equal energy
besties, so you pay
exchange.
for my time. What?
Equal energy exchange.
Exactly. Exactly. I just wanted to give it to the people that may be more normal what that means, the equal energy exchange. That's why I went on that rant. Sorry.
No, you're good. I mean, anything we go on a rant on, this is our podcast. We talk about every fucking thing, so it's all good.
What do you think, Persenious?
What?
It's okay. She's a Leo, so we're good. She
Yeah.
vibes.
No, what do you think? Like about what we're talking about? Do you have input
Um, I mean, I don't
about
do
pricing?
readings, but like the most I do is pendulum work. So at least right now, anyway.
That's
But
awesome.
But she yells at
How
me
did
when I'm like, when I'm talking about like pricing. She's like, bitch.
I tell her she should like raise her, like know her worth and raise her rate with some of the stuff that she does, yes. Especially when it comes to like
I agree.
the trans mediumship.
I agree with the value she brings. Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you guys. You guys are
Yeah.
so cute.
Oh,
You're worth
yeah.
it.
But Persenius, how did you get started in pendulum stuff?
Um,
What drew you to pendulums?
And non-pendulums.
yeah, I use necklaces sometimes, like I'll take a
Cool.
necklace off that I've like been wearing for a while if I want to like because I have deity necklaces on like all the time now, and so I'll take one of them off and then I'll be like, hey, blah, and then they'll be like, yes, and I'll be like, so, and then I have to um word the question correctly to get the proper answer.
Funny story. Her deity
Mm,
straight up told her like, stop using your cell phone as a pendulum.
why?
They just didn't like it anymore. They're like, stop.
Heard. Heard. I do use my TikTok as a scrying reel, as scrying sometimes, just to like show me the future.
No, but like
But
how
it's
I
very rare. I
started was
yeah.
like I wanted to know answers, and this is like years ago. Like I did it when I first started. Like it that was like my start into it was in high school. I would take like a necklace or something like that and I would use it as a pendulum and I would ask yes no questions. So
So cool. Yeah.
That and the other cool thing is like other people who do pendulum work, like I do some pendulum work too, when I'm communicating with like deities and guides. But the way that my pendulum moves for me is different than this bitch over here. And now that I've seen her do it so many times, I know exactly like what answers she's getting because like, like the typical pendulum user, like circle for yes or like up and down for no, or like, if it goes counterclockwise, it's one thing, whatever. Hers is like a completely different system that's unique to her. And that's the first time I've ever seen that before. But it's so accurate. I'll be like
Cool.
asking questions out loud and it'll just immediately move to that answer. And I'm like,
I mean like it like the way other people did pendulum didn't make sense. So like I figured out my way of doing it and then other people were like, "Oh, this is what this means." And I was like, that makes no logical sense to me because like that to me
Hmm.
would be no, or this would be like if you're nodding your head like this and saying no, I'm like that's confusing for my brain. So that's a no.
Yeah.
So
neurodivergence.
yay.
Wee, now spicy club.
Yes.
Spicy. Spicy. Um, that's pretty amazing. I only did pendulum for a very short time and it didn't really fit with me. Um, Sally, have you tried any divination tools that don't work with you?
I
That
haven't
aren't
tried
your
anything
vibe?
yet. I haven't tried anything yet that hasn't worked with me. And I don't want to like say it like I'm being cocky because I just haven't tried it.
It's all right. You can be cocky. It's okay.
You
Fine. You
know,
just like
you know, um, because
jack
I'm
of
a
all trades,
savage.
master of none. Yes.
No, but like I've never felt the call to use dowsing rods. And I know people who are very good with them, but like that's
I can use
not
them.
something that I
Yeah.
feel a calling for. I would rather grab a deck of cards or just listen, inner ear clairaudiently or use a pendulum to get the answers that I need. And, it just
Yeah.
doesn't call to me. Not that it doesn't work, it's just not my thing yet.
Yeah. Heard. No, I just wanted the listeners to know that sometimes you have to look for your tool and your tool may not be a common one. Like what Persenius was saying. It could be a necklace. There's a really cool TikToker. She uses the emojis in your phone history. I
Mhm.
love that. I hope I run into them. I hope I run into them
Yeah,
and get a reading.
there's a tarot reader on YouTube. I think it's like Red something tarot. But anyway, she does some interesting readings. So she uses a combination of like charm throwing, coffee cup
Cool.
readings, like Harry
Ooh,
Potter style like coffee cup readings.
let's
So it's not
go.
like tea leaves, but it's like coffee
Yeah.
grounds. And then she uses
They do that in
tarot.
the Middle East. Yeah, they do those
Yeah, and
readings.
she uses tarot and oracle cards to like give the message. And that's something that I would really like to learn in the future is like doing a coffee cup reading and also like doing the charm throwing. Like I really feel like it's interesting and that kind of calls to me because it's like the chance thing, right? Like you're leaving it to chance or like you're leaving it it's like a
Mm,
game of odds at this point. So that intrigues me. Like it's open to interpretation versus like, oh, this is yes, this is no, like whatever.
yeah, I get that. I wouldn't be able to do the charms because all I think is like clutter. I would have too much stuff. I like my tarot cards. I only have so many of them.
Yeah. There's only 70 something of them.
Yeah, well, it's like it's not even the reading of it. It's just like I don't want to collect charms because then I have like a billion charms because of that vibe. I'm like, because I'm really good at being minimal, and I'm like, all right, I have these like 7 decks, and that's all I get to like use to read
And
from on any given day.
if you have 7 decks, I have a serious problem. It's
It's okay. I'm a very practiced minimalist. It's not um very mindful Marie Kondo over here. Like I can't
yeah.
it stresses me out to have too much stuff because I've moved around so much in my life. One day I can be a maximalist. But right now in my life currently, that stresses me out.
I
I
think that's
blame
like
my
one of the
grandma.
few that's one of the few things that I can collect right now because
Ooh.
like I minimalize a lot when I moved back in September, right before Sacred Spaces, to be
Mm,
honest. Like the week of Sacred Spaces I moved.
you've been going through it. You're going through it. You've
Let
been
me tell
going
you,
through it, man.
I've been through some damn
Jesus.
things. But
We
anyway,
can talk about that next episode.
right.
Going
might
through
end the
shit,
podcast.
episode 4.
Yeah, but seriously, tarot decks is something that is they're compact, so I can collect more, but I
Oh
can
yeah.
fit them in a compact space. So that's kind of like the thing that I'm into right now is like if I really feel like a deck is calling out to me, and I've had times where I walk into a metaphysical shop and nothing calls out to me. I've been looking for an oracle deck. Oh, oracle deck.
Oral deck.
Yeah.
Ooh.
Oh, spicy. That's not this type of podcast.
Spicy. That is a spicy episode comment.
Hey, you know
Oh.
what? I don't know what's worse, me saying oral or you saying lube. In the first
Lube it
episode.
up. Did
Yeah.
I lube? Did I say lube?
Yes, I
I
was like
did.
raw dog in life, and you were like, no lube. And I was like, oh God, Amber.
But you said raw dog, man.
I did, but I didn't even like think about it in that context. Like that's what's funny about us, especially being Sagittarian. Like foot and mouth is
Mm.
like a real problem. Like we just be
Oh,
saying things and we understand each other, but we're just
and then we're like,
are you guys going to understand where we're coming from? Or are you going to be like these raunchy ass bitches? Like, what are they talking about?
oh. Well, it's called the Mindful Sagittarians podcast, so it was in the title. You know what you're
Yeah,
getting into.
we're being mindful
Disclaimer
afterwards.
complete.
Like, don't ask for
What?
permission, ask for forgiveness is what we do here at this podcast.
Nay. Yes. Nay. My
But
gosh.
I think we covered like a great deal. But I think we talked about we wanted to touch up on deities real quick. Like
I
I
think we can save that for next episode. I think we should leave them with a little cliffhanger because
a
it's
little
been almost an
cliffhanger.
hour.
Yeah, you're right. You're right. Okay, to be continued. Dun
Because
dun.
you gotta sleep. We're not gonna do this 2 hour episode.
No, you're right. You're
You
right.
need yeah, you need sleep.
Listen, one of
It's
these podcast episodes, it's going to be Persenious' 5-hour chaos tarot reading that I owe her from donating that money.
damn.
Which by the way, Theron got second place. So
I
the
heard.
Faking
I
Horror
felt
contest,
I'm so sorry though. I know you wanted
we,
them to win so bad.
we tried. So sad. But hey,
It's
you know, they have
okay.
a really cool opportunity regardless, and we made a big
Yeah.
impact on the Starlight Children's Foundation. So it's all good. But yeah, shout out to Theron Beyond the Veil. Good for you.
That's
Congratulations.
what matters, right?
Yeah.
To everyone at Sacred Spaces. Also, shout out to Crystal and Sophia. Wonderful live this morning.
Oh my God. Mindful, what is it? Mindful mood.
Mindful morning, a Monday magic mood boost. I should know this. I'm the
No,
mod.
I tuned
Jesus.
in for a bit. I was at work, but I
I
tuned in.
saw.
And no, Crystalline always has such like great insight and they're very mindful. And one of these days we will get
They
them
are.
here on this podcast. So
For For sure, for sure. When I want us to wait till they are fully healed so that
Mhm.
they can be as comfy as possible.
Absolutely.
Um, and but yeah, they were just doing such a rockin' live this morning, and everyone we were finally getting new people, just random new people in the thing. So I think we should still do TikToks on their thing consistently because everyone coming in that in the morning was chef's
Yeah,
kiss.
no, it was great. And like, we're all about supporting other creators here. So if you have a
Yeah.
particular content creator you like to watch, like look and see who they follow and go check some other people out because everyone brings different perspective to the table. So if I had any like,
Yeah,
yeah.
send them our way. Like, put it in the Discord if there's someone that you want us to interview. We're definitely open to interviewing people that fully understand and believe that mindfulness and therapy and spirituality coexist in such a healthy enmeshment. And respecting other people. Like, we would love to talk with them and promote them. Like, we want to promote good people, and we want to build a healthy community for everybody.
Absolutely. And on that note, I hope that this was more of the us dropping knowledge versus a dumpster fire today. I really enjoyed talking about our psychic
Let's
journeys a little bit.
have let's have Persenious rate it. Was it dumpster fire or knowledge dropping?
Knowledge dropping.
I was like, out of 1 to 10
Hey.
dumpster fires, where are we at today? I love this
A
for
big goose egg?
a
Goose egg
big
of dumpster
zero.
fires,
A
but the
zero
hearts.
and then a heart.
That's
Yeah.
gonna be our new like
Goose
dance
egg,
sign.
hearts.
0 dumpster fires, hearts
Love.
only.
Yeah.
Hearts only. Yes. That is one thing about Sagittarians. We do have heart. And
Too much
we do
sometimes.
give a shit. We give a lot of shit.
Yeah, but I feel like we have a good judge character because at the end of the day, like if that energy no longer serves us, we're very quick to
It reminds me of the her sister was a witch, and what was her sister? Tell me I'm wrong. That whole like that's the Sagittarius energy. Like, am I wrong? Tell me
Dude,
I'm wrong.
dude, one of these days we need to just gather Sagittarius memes because guess what, guys? Sagittarius season starts in 4 days. It is our
It's
season, it's
our
our time
season.
for us, the Sagittarian.
Oh man,
So I think that'd be funny, like if we find a whole bunch of Sagittarius memes and just like talk about how accurate they are or how inaccurate they are.
that would be a fun episode.
Yeah, but
We'll definitely do
Amber,
that.
thanks again for keeping us on track. Appreciate you, and thanks to our surprise guest, Persenious.
Love you, Persenius. Thank you so much for being here today. I know it wasn't planned, but I appreciate you.
Yeah, of course.
And thank you, Sally. Let's go. Let's hear it for Sally in the comments. If it wasn't for Sally, we wouldn't be doing this. They're doing most of the editing right now until I get my new laptop because I can't wait to throw this from a 4-story building. So
Not a
excited.
4-story
My
building.
Well, I live in one, so it's like it's easy. I just like yeet it into the street.
Yeet.
Um it was my ex-husband got it for me and long time ago. I just haven't had the money or the time or the means to get a new one. And this one's dying anyway, so I can't wait to throw it out the window.
Hey,
But once that happens,
gives a whole new meaning to trauma dumping. Yeet it out the window.
oh, oh,
Dump
I
your
need a
trauma.
videotape. I need it. Yes, we need a dumpster fire episode where we talk about all the things that we burn and destroy for our exes, and like
Oh
that
yeah, we
magic
talk
of
about
destroying things.
what did you say? You said they were very mindful dumpster fires. Like, yeah, you could just
Yes,
burn things from an ex.
yes, that is what I said. Remember? Oh, yeah, I did say that. I say things and I forget them. I think that might be a trait of mine.
It's okay because there's TikTok reels that I make of our podcast over at the
I
Mindful
know.
Sagittarians podcast at TikTok. So we remember these things forever.
True. Well, let's say goodnight to our listeners because they've been very patient. Thank you, listeners.
Yes, especially those of you at work listening to us ramble. Thank you so much for tuning in. We appreciate you.
Appreciate.
Yeah. But everyone have a good morning, afternoon, evening, whenever you hear us. And this is the Mindful Sagittarians podcast signing off.
Bye, bitches.
Bye. We'll see you next week.